I say, friends. I am Vitaly Portnikov. Every year, we will talk to you about those who have real prospects for the Russian-Ukrainian way. Not about Paragory process for the Yakimami Vij su Stygimo be called a few more teen popple. That pokey show Wyglota first of all Satakunin our S side of the President of the Russian Federation Vladimir Putin. And about the real thing, you can see, you can bring it to the completion of the Russian-Ukrainian way at Maybit. I am speaking ambiguously, if you have discussed with me the mind of that. I want to remember Abo, I want to have a presupinity for the singing hour of the Russian-Ukrainian Venu, show for the great Rahunkum. It is a real change of mind for you to remember Abo presupinenia economicna crisis in the Russian Federation. The economic crisis is real, I cannot allow Pradavzuvati Venu. I from New Year's Eve in the Washington Post, I will come to do a detailed analysis. I will become a Russian economist on the basis of new Zhorst sanctions received by the state. Proti Rossiyskich Nafthavik Gigantiv, Rasnivts I Lukoy. I myself am Wirashiv, show to conduct a Kyiv Rozmova on an economic topic. Nabogato is very important. I will discuss the details of diplomatic paramovin, and all one thing is not to bring anything realistic. Why, what sanctions are against Rosnivchi I Lukoil? At once may it such a seriozny vpliv on the Russian economy. Well, in advance, that's why the whole Russian economy is based on income from nafta and gas. Show Rosiani can convert yuan I rupee. I'm going to sell my products, because I stink myself, for an additional sale of naphtha, maybe a vihid on a hot, sweet rink. I don't give anything just like that. I dated Zarazmi in principle, can say about those show price. Yaku Rosia is sold to China in India. At a time it is stored here approximately $35 per barrel. Imizu may be Pamutati, show Rossiyski budget of insurance on the sum of $69. To be sure, once for a while, the budget will have to be victorious, the remaining resources of the Russian funds. Yaki in principle, just can be counted on in 2026 rock. I see na till prodovenia neplatasprosti na. I fear, people, I am engaged in the Russian banking sphere. Rozmova the Washington Post talk about a real crisis on the payment of a real great bank crisis. So it is in a certain situation. It is possible for you to give a figure of the fall of the Russian energetic incomes. See 49% at the breast of the rock at the Perivniani, see Poperednim 2024 rock. I am a real possibility for Deficitu budget. In order to impose, it is not possible to bulo Vykonuvati Vieski budget. It is not possible to say, because Putin is not Rozumiv Naslidkiv sich sanctions. Itself in order that the sanctions are not buli Zaprovagini, Bula I Vigadana Kia adventure, with a peaceful process. Shab Parakanati Trump. Navit Pislia Zriva Zustrici Roziaskogo I Ameriskogo Presidentiv U Budapest, U Miral Yubnosti Roziaskogo President. I such a rank Primusidi American President Vidklasti. Implementu Vanya 6 sanctions, Shab. Putin Migs Bilshuvati Roziask budget. Nothing happened. In C. Situak, of course, has odnu oznakoyu fact, naslite series no bula porotska z semi sanctions. Rusina Rosakeho Central Bank. About pavement % rates, show factual has prospello to novi rainy process economy. That's right, inflation, Nemov by in Russia, do not regret it at such a rapid pace, as it would be a little regretful. Yakby of such interest rates did not bulo, all at once is sim, it is practical. Chi Rishenya Zidayat Chi remaining pennies reserves of the Russian Federation, the profits of the best companies. I see, so it is very difficult to understand. Well, I'd say it's the most important factor at once. Pro Yakimi yes, you can really say. CT, show zamist moreover, shab otrzymywali groshi vid energetycznych gigantów, Rosja nade 2. Najbliższym energetycznym campaigns of Russia monopolist in the gas sphere, Gazprom. I head naftovi campaign of Russia Rosnefti Podatkovi Pilji. That's why, factually, Putin is allowed by the head of the state energetic. The companies of the Russian Federation do not splachuvati bogato to the budget, vin dotu. I see absolutely catastrophic situation, that's why I'm still kind of pamyat hours. If Gazprom on all TV channels of the Russian Federation demonstrav, show vin. Golovnym nadbanyam of the central part of the country. And at once me bakimo situation, if the cleanest zbytek Gazprom, uminulum Rossi, c mays 13 miliardiv dolariv. Well, how could it be beauty? Gazprom buv energeticnim monopolist not tilki in Russia, vin buv energeticnim monopolist in Russia Europe. And now, if it is practical for a European to live with the Russian gas, why Gazprom yogo odivati? To China, ale in order to have a real gas chase, yaki is allowed. Gazprom to push nafta, push gas to China to rock. Yakvi rozumite, China does not zbirayatsia kupuvati Russian gas to timi sinami. For yak zbiracia yogo kupuvati Evropitsi. Well, I see that very situation, show I have naftove. And, the problems of the naftove company C. Nabogato were the problems of Gazprom. The fact that Gazprom did not create such a possibility for the Russian state budget, I say, Rosneft. I firm here require just Zamyslitsia pro. Even before that, Yak Trump, having sent his sanctions against Gosnifty. The company announced about 70% of the fall of its pure profit. Up to 3.5%. De miliardiv dolariv for Pershi 3 Quarto 2025 rock in Porivniani z Poperednim rock. To that Shosini on Nafta Vij fell. And now we're going to be together. I'm going to be in the third campaign of one of Igor Sikin's best Putin associates for the fourth quarter. I think it's going to happen to the Spivrobitnikovs of Rosneftsi to say goodbye to IZ with high incomes, IZ with salaries. Bagot will have to say goodbye to IZ with Robokoy Mists, and Negalovnish, the Russian budget will have to say goodbye. Z Hiroshima. Rastans, I document Rosny Porok, Z Roziaskoyu army. Well, I see in principle, to talk about those who are majestically the Russian Naftha Sverdlovsk region, I will complete my history. I see, before the speech, Navit Yaksho say not about the Russian-Ukrainian Vinu, Zaporuka stability at Maybutnoma. Tom show if Rosie of Pazbolia Naftha, a can of Pazbolia aggressiveness. Guess, now you've got to go to Russia, I have a form of the Radyansky Union, I have a form of the new one. Lizinska Russi, then, if the bulls nizik prices on Nafta, democracy, tabuli stink about your divanu however. About the greatness svo culture, simulia tim chigot zamatisia country show. Nadora's Vina, show played a long time ago. Civilizations maganya zamalosia tim, the bush's legs were removed. Firm sim stink, why may be engaged in maybutnomu, yaksho, to get into the fun of the pribitku vidnafti. However, it requires a little fairy tale because of that process. Which called for the collapse of one of the Negidne Imperi 20 sim. Sterichi Radyanskogo Union, in the same buv absolutely natural process. And then Putin himself with his own hands, tightened the seam on the Russian people, whose people are the same. That's all right, in principle. It wouldn't be enough not to booty, but it wouldn't stink if they didn't come to our land. Well, I dated. So, in a certain situation, Yakvi Rozumite, Navit if it seems, firm the great Zupinidi of the Russian Navy. Russian tankery, Yaki plivot at once to China I Indi. Patanya Tilki in the routes, Ayla requires Rozumidi to dosit vezlivu rich. Show majestically kilkist sich tankeriv nikudi ne plive. That is why the Russian nafta in this situation cannot be known to poppet. On Sevia Rinku. I tankeri stand I check, if all the same to go into all the sea cell. So, in the whole plan, it is absolutely true that the tendencies, according to the essence, are low. Possibilitipulation to kupivli. CT dosit so seriosny signal, yaki talk about the snake. I Washington Post Rospovide about the call of the Bank of Russia, I think, soon vitrati on one of the settlements here on. 8.7% on the cob of the breast of the whole rock, at Porivniani z Poperednim rock on goods for the house. By 8.8%, on health and beauty by 5.9%. This is a very important moment. It means that people on the right now can't afford to buy those who stink could afford to buy. Earlier, I thought I'd die like this, the begatma of the fall of a happy Russian citizen at the economic nuplurva. Because it's so important, because it doesn't vibrate at all. Moreover, Yaksho Vin will not vibrate there, Yaksho Vin will fight there, Rosianum Znovu still will not be up to Vin I greatness. Rishenya to the central bank, about the high interest rates. Bogato said something, like a genial Elvira Nabulina. Well, maybe, Yak Bankersha. According to the essence, there were a lot of crisis campaigns in the US territory. Well, I am such a rank, a fast-moving Robaki. The speed of salaries, the day of the payment of salaries, on the most important business enterprises. We have been calling recently, ICW Povidomenya Russian media, Bula Istoria. Strike in the lower Tagili Rabitnikiv Pidpremstvo Novaliks, Yaki Pidkrislyut, show stink in 2 months, not otrimuyut salary. Tak pod zat Virginia Russian, po sudi, provedno newspapers. What are you talking about? They were registered approximately on 34 companies of the Russian Federation. So today, the sum of unpaid wages will be collected. I see DT duj seriosno. Istoria do not pay 2 months' wages to impose on people. Who will have a nuclear reactor, an atomic power plant in the Ulyanovsk region. For my everything. And that means that people can't pay their loans. Show at banks z are majestic portpelli, unpaid. Creditive. I such rank mova I'd about those, show banks, zvicheno, te opiniutia before the face of the spravznoi krzini payment. What do I want to tell you all about? What does it mean that you are finished? Ni. The President of the Russian Federation will depend on the principle. Yaksho many budit mensch paydi, t budish mensch pay. Vin not zekognini firm social stablenost in Russian, yak producin of Rusiko-Ukrainsko wine, sisena nacho powers nalakuvara. Europe. Puts Nikoli not Muslim economy categories. I navit yaksho uyevidi sobi, show poknitsia real great socialni zavorashenya, right bud nasamperadisia tim. Niskilki effective nim I silnami apparat Russian Federation. Statni potopody chi socialni zavorashenya u veliki krovi. Well, zreshtoyu mi zu are kind pamutemo podi 2020 rock at Belarusi. Yaksho be podi such a scale buli be in Ukraine, President Alexander Lukashenko, Zvicheno, Pazbuvsia Vladi. Buv by Zareshtoveni, I at once 5 Rakivs na Hadivsia Viaznitsi. I'm going to kill you. Ale in the situation, yak sklalasia at Belarusi, yak mi zu rozumimo, silavi apparat of the central region. Buv nabogato effectivnishi, nij Ukrainsky, that's why it's practical to have 3 decadent pedbudovovsia. Ped 1 person, see Lukashenko, I ped 1 curator's land, see Rosiesk Federation. What is in Ukraine at the moment, if Yanukovych has already Zakinchuvov svi termin povnavasion, according to the essence? He was not so bad an hour before the new Vyboriv, it happened. As a chitiri of the president, I'm not a stranger to them, I'm on the road as a curator. That's why in the US Ukrainian security forces Buly Gruppi, Yak Orientuvalicia on the dignified president. I on the Russian Federation, Yak on the edge of the political sponsor of Yanukovych. So the group of Siloviki, Yaki Vazali, show it's a good idea to go to Vlasny Interesi. I think it's a good idea to think about those who will be a friend of Viktorovich, show they will be at home with him on Promebutny. In the situation of non-consolidovani power structures, the people played. In the situation of the consoles of the power structures, the president played, I am the effective dictator. Mode. See those, Chogo Yanukovych, obviously, not Migs Rozumidi. Ale in Biakomu Razi, Site Potribno Usvidomidi. Naroshuvanya sich economic problems in 2026, Che, in 2026. The whole thing is one thing, because of the real situation in the management of the company. It's just that there won't be any pennies for those who pay name-ansem. I vino, shovij bogato roziiskik regioniv zmusheni skorichuvati extra pay sims lokensam, z vlasnogo, budget. That show they have barely a few pennies. We will soon be moving to Vitaly, on the Viskovopromyslovy complex of the Russian Federation. There won't be any rockets, drones, there won't be any Rozplachuvitisia is China, I Pivnichnoyu Korea, for zbroyu. And if it's going to be, then it's going to mean, if you happen to take the pennies from the Rabitnik themselves. Then you'll be paid if you pay. Do not pay not for 2, but for chitiri misyats. Today the process is delayed for an hour, so that at once we can stand on the other side of the world with Russia and Ukraine. To be transformed into the next process. I prosi te potribno seriosno think. In the process of trade, there are no more comfortable for the Russian Federation of minds, they are on the verge of an economic collapse. I see, before the speech, Nabilsh is not an eternal process for us. It seems, well, there's a filthy thing here, the world wants to stink. From Divish, the New Year's world Bazhai Zahid, I do want to vidzi Roziasko Ukrainskoy Vieni, Shab not Vitrachati Groshi na Vinu. Do not imagine that you have a nice country of Europe, but do not imagine that you have a nice Zvazku of Russia. With a Chinese People's Republic, you have received a staff. It's all so obvious. Ale at once is sim. I at once z Ukrainskim bazanium pripinidi vinu. Nime żadnego roziaskogo bazania. Roziaski bazania zatuvati our, for the best znishenia of Ukraine, and the payback of our territories. Now we are seeing ourselves, now the situation has changed. Rossiya naspravdi. Naspravdi is ready to zakinchenia vini. Not in words. You'll all say, well, I'm fine. Ni. This is not a linear situation, friends. If Russia is not ready in words to zakinchenia vini, then that Trump himself will be able to understand Russia nabilsh privilovani umovi in order to save vina zakinchalacia. I see will mean the visnanya of the Russian status of the payback of the territory, quiet, Yaki will pay off at the moment. If you remember the time. I see will mean the sanctity of the Russian Federation. I see will mean the turn of the Russian frozen assets. I see will mean the renewal of the Russian resources for the future of Ukraine. If Russia is renewed. Firmin chomu nabilsha problem, I can viniknuti. Remember me with a lack of Russia, I'll be able to find my own way in a couple of weeks to strike Ukraine with a deadly blow. We're calling for the wrong ones, will remember me with Russia. Yaka falls into the prairie. Yaksho speak about the real Ukrainian inters, for us Nabagato is more important, so Rosia snored in such a frira. Because Vona could not vibrate Rakiv 20-25. Now, in 1 hour, we have been able to renew, join the European Union, join NATO. I will create such a strong army, I could have slammed the Russian ambitions, if the stink of the new Vinnick and the stink of the new Vinnick. And if we are given 2, 3, Chitiri rocks, then through Chitiri rocks, we will be able to feel such a scale of a friend Vien. I want to amuse Ukraine with 50 million inhabitants, and I can put a speck on the Ukrainian state. CT is absolutely real. Those show can be seen. Well, I dated. CT to the singing world Vibir. Vibir mebut nogo. Jak vono bud vigliadati. See, I do not call to Pradov Zuvati Vinu. Yaksho will be the door of the mind. For reaching the world Chizoka before Przupanenya Vini on the evening period. That's right, the same thing. Today's Ukrainian is not to be fooled, it's just a little bit of an interval. So that I can feel like I'm on a big scale. Ale, I'm in a certain situation, I'm calling up to the Insho formula. Uvidomlyuvati, if you really want to weather the world, it means it's not a catastrophe. Spravznya disaster. The Russian order of Nikoli will not weather the world until that moment. Bo stink not zrzumiut, show 1 foot vij brought over the failure factually. I myself am not slid t on capituliatsini umovi. Yaksho voni really will be Zatsakov lani at the world, voni whether on biyaki umovi, shab vidnovidi your economic ability. To have ISV control over the population, I'll be this day at 2026 Rossi. All the more I senapati more. Fuck with the social prerva, because I won't come. Vi si pobashite sami. If your relatives are there, those who stink, in the Russian Federation, yaki at once. They forgot about you in 2022, I chekali, poki you zvilnyat chipunish. According to the fallowness of the fact that I am a victim of idiocy in your relatives and friends. Poknut you pisati chinavit telefonyavati I kazati. Oh. Manya, we takija here. T sobi not even predstavlia. Maxima doesn't even have the opportunity to go to school, they're in the bathhouse. Well, that's it. This is for you may beauty nekrasha musica. For a few pennies, buy a blue uniform to go to school, so that you can start to live your normal life right now. Rose. They gave us the stink of a phone call, they had real economic problems. Z parrot vorenya Rosian on Zhibrakiv, without prospects to repair your life right now. Tilki do not pass the apple booth to us. Well, firm, si bud mean Pershi krapli plashu on Daka, I will soon become a socialite. Riots, national confrontations, clan struggles, zumov nimiv bivstvami, everything, yak stinkt to love. To that shows Nishuvati marvelously won Rosiani Vmi, Nabogato bilsh effektivno, Nizos inshogo. Until the 20th Starichia, z namovernoyu hromadyanskoyu, factually self-appointed Rosian z 1917. To Vashate 1939 Rick, becoming one of the most beautiful. Illustrating moreover, as one people can imagine. The axis of the sea may be taken. The axis of the sea is given to the world. Transference of the Ludozhevsky Zvichik from us to himself. Ayla Yaksho, the world will seem to be today, if everything does not happen. Don't be atmospheric. Why didn't we talk about the Kinets of the 80s-90s Rockies, if there were so many democratic tendencies in Russia? Why did the atmosphere of the galaxy rose? Strikingly Rodyanskogo Union, Vin Zakinchivsia. Strikings of the State Emergency Committee, strikings of the Russian project, dominations in Europe, strikings in Afghanistan. It is not possible to bulo prikovati. I yakraz on tli sikik pokalasia yak self-reflection. And yak tilki sini on naftha went to the door, suddenly he was thrown. Tovarish Lodge, becoming Asiatica the sides, demate I vij nasa, vij I. I've got it all. Ikra, I'm a little girl, now I need to get it in. Well, I pahalasia vischi podi, yaki, zreshtoeu, risht, parashli u bezkoneknu rosiasko ukrainska vinu. To that I have a great zikavistu stitch for the economic snakes in the Russian Federation, in the Yakoma be rot stink. They didn't make it to the collapse. Navit is not up to the collapse of the Russian state, yak bagato to about see think. Ni. Before the collapse of aggressive possibilities. Site is an absolutely realistic scenario vihodu. Z Ukrainian crisis. Nabagato bilsh realistic, nij if Dmitry Yazdit to Vithef z Kushnarami I Rozpavadam. Yak stink chudovo budit in maybutnomu pozmini zarobliati. This is an absolutely senseless negotiation process. Yak mi z usposterigamo. I do not say, show vin napovnitsia z mistum at 2026 Rossi, Yaksho will not break. And Rosiani himself, to that I do not bas hout yogo perurivati. Now we are in love, now at this moment, I don't know the stink in Yakis, but in Yakis. We can know the real instrument is completed in Russia-Ukraine. C is absolutely obvious rich, about Yakumi Meo Pamutati. Well, it's such an analysis of the situation, I can blame you for the offensive rock. I want to thank you, friends, for those who have taken the fate of the newly created channel to the Miljonic channel. To the skin, it's written, I'm sorry. I vashayu, show crz u spilni uespik I monstrosity, if the channel yakasnoe journalistiki, can beauty channel Miljonic. So show diakuyu. I am the most holy saints. I ask you to subscribe to my channel. And in this case, let's look at another million. Sibud not so shvidka prospect, ale let's go to the channel. Sibuda piv million pidpisnikiv. So now, be a weasel, the one who does not write, be a weasel, I will write to you twice. Put it like that, comment, and think about the collapse of the Russian economy. And I'm on the Patanya, Yaki Buli ped hour of the whole Efiru. Pana Vitaly, what is not similar to our Ukrainian world, at Rospad Rosi on chastity, on the world Eudave I proshestyames. Is the Kozka beautiful, Yaka obitsia to the people of the Ira, do you colic at Maybutnomu? Well, I'm telling you, I'm not talking about race living at Maybutnomu. And mova I'd about those, because people may be happy in their everyday life, because they won't be happy in their everyday life. They won't be able to remember anything. See absolutely inch uyavlinya about his behavior in life, nij in the Christian world, demosnas grishiti. I potom bigati I repent kojni 2 days. In udata not pokaza sama fact, show mesa obza not rajski life, tim to correctly give it, and just povernenya too. Normality. The prettier booty is normal every year, isn't it? No paradise, spec, people are not interested. See, I by having said, absolutely inch form of religia mif, yaka yakras pavyazana I antiknistu, I transferred sich ancient rites. Tactician religia, on Udayski runt Christians, ala si incha historia. Tom show I general wyau, what if me are talking about politics category, it is not necessary to shas right. I'm for C30 kvilen, without saying a single word about Rospad Rosi, Yakvi Pamutate. To that, I've zagali vas hayu, show rozpad rozi yak imperimi yak spostorigamo at once ped our roziasko ukrainskoy vini. The Russian Federation, yak na mina, is a typical national power and the most important part of the Russian ethnic population. Yak is absolutely from the point of view of the Ukrainian power, in such a form itself. So, the Russian Federation has a national gromady. Ela Voni does not play a critical role. So I have played a critical role in the national gromady. I have a critical role in the Russian Union. I am in front of the Russian Union. So I'm not going to introduce it, because it's an inevitable process. Ale I seem to you absolutely about inch. Those who bulo I to rozpadu Radyanskogo Union. Those who bulo I to rozpadu Rosiskoy Imperii, economicni zenepad zavdi pozbavlie roziu aggressive possibilities. Tsilisno, chi fragmentary. I till about see I seem. And those, show a ax people, that wrath, show bood result rozpad Russi, now seem not mozemo Nikoli novati. If Rosia will not skuvati. Yak vi rozumiet, a small power, cannot spryati rozpad great. Mi lish nevelichka chestina Rosiaskoy imperii, Yakiv delosia vid Kalatsia vid metropolitan. And besides, if I split, it doesn't mean that I'm a part of the metropolitan. I'm madly afraid of the same thing. I want to say that the metropolitan territory has been created piece by piece. Mij rozumimo, show versus Kordoni Radyanskik Republic, si ne Viboroni Kordoni, si Kordoni Stalina. Si nevedomo, I can look at Maybutnamu Russia is real. I'm not going to discuss it with you. I'll talk about those, yak. Can you develop an economic situation? From here, Pita, naskilki objektivnimi zahidni etsinki ekonomiknoi situacji in Russia. Chi not periozinu zahid effect vid their sanctions. Zahid is on the objektivni digit spiral. The amount for which Russia sells naphtha is an objective figure. I know everything. It's not a nice thing to do. Do not require a great economist, Shab Porahuvati Padinya Rozieski income, Yaksho Vizbiralasia to sell naphtha. For $69 for a barrack. Sell for 35. I'm not a rose, I'm talking about it. Why is there a Zahid here? See math. Yaksho you know, show 24 plus 24 will be 48. For you it's not a bad day. So I'm here. Zahid Yakraz did not reevaluate the prefect of his sanctions, that is, he was a rose. That gave him a long process of ruinuvania si ekonomiki. El however say so, paralik. At once, it is absolutely obvious that according to the actual figures, it is possible in Russia itself. In the very rosy, not bulo rik that Creasy, not paying not bulo. In Russia itself, there was no such low price for naphtha. Not bulo. In Russia itself, there was not such a fall of energetic companies. Rosia Rik herself did not have enough energetic companies. Well, the whole thing is absolutely real. Factually, every year the head factors appeared, they allowed the Russian economy to grow rapidly. Visiki Sini on naphtha, the monopolistic role of Russia in the energetic market of Europe is thin. Chi we are not afraid, because the theme of the Runovanya Russian economy can be thrown in by Russia itself at once. For a change of appetite help us. Aj Rosia, Muvliav, soon Zrainuetsia Ivini will not be. Russia absolutely does not want to throw in any of those Ruinuvanya Russian economy. That's what you can do, that's what you will want to do. That's what the economy needs to be done. Vin z nabagato menshim bazanyam pied on biyaki politichny deeds of Russia. Tim bilsh u situacji z Trump Rosiani mayet spravu z kizik. Vaj tc may rozumidi. From one side, Trump rozpavide, yak Vin want to be friends with Putin, from the other side. Vin factually give Ukraine the opportunity to take over the Naftogaz sector of the Russian Federation, including the tanker. Mi w rozumimo, show without the American rozviduvalno informatsiv sogo, not vidbilosia. You can power up, and yak so. That's why Trump wants one side at once. Z Putinim zarabliati, and Z in shogo side, Z Putin vitis needy Z energetic rink. C ne special, just business. Yaksho is such a privid, jak rosyjsko-ukrainska wina, jak die, it is possible to legally protect naftový ped of the Russian embassy. Without any particular risk. For yourself, so why wouldn't Zrobiti? C.W. Trump. And I, before the speech, do not exclude, because Trump does not have a speck on the peace process, because I do not believe in it. I can deny that it is far from a rocket for everyone to see it. Why is Trump absolutely not a Sakavi? What are we going to do as a result? Smut, shab me all sees nishili. Yaksho me sami parat vorimsia on a kestrel, in a certain situation, well, there will be a kestrel. Budemo vidnov lyuvati kestrel. See Yaka Riznitsa, if Russia is no longer an energetic competitor. We just may have a reason, but it's not about the truth. I Putin see Razumi. See Gersh, Nij Biden, that Trump pluvati on Ukraine, Vin can't lie down. Oh, I'm so busy there. Love. I am a victorious yak instrument for your energetic collapse. And show tz them's rubbish, see your problems. Siv zagali us not to bypass. And maybe the booty at the Rosyan is a significant stash, on the yak stink of a Rozrachovuyut for the Vini. Krim is frozen active, maybe there are about 900 milliards lying in the lower regions, I don't say anything about them. I'm Bach, show Rozuminia zu ekonomiki, still navit bilsh folding, nes Rozuminia politiki. I do not fix the radio, because I am not an economic expert, because I, humming, call without interference. Those who do not understand you on the politic categories, to what I am a sound. Hail those, show me ekonomiku sprimemo yak taku ditiochu kazku, siv zagali chudovo. Ni, can't take beauty. It is not possible to 900 milliards here so shavati, shab about them not knowing anything. Ask yourself a couple of million dolariv in yourself, you don't know anything about them. I don't know, I'll marvel at you. Ale, Rosiani zvikli jidi filthy, zyba problemi z ekonomikoyu, kens nishidi inu pidtrimku vini. Well, in my opinion, I do not enter, because they are especially happy to see me. The stink is not going to be put on the canoe. In another way, the power is not in fact, patriot stink vino chip patriot. Power in fact, chip powers have money for zabezpieczenia vine, 6 resume. Russia should be calmly put up to this, because there is a social pact between them and the state. Voni vizivayut, the power is at war. Ale if people don't see, well, we'll have a good time, at this moment we'll eat something that won't be about seeing the Russian people. Patanya bud, pro vitsivanya viskovo promyslovogo sector, on Nyogo shte potribny groshi. People who survived the collapse of the Radyansk Union, pamutayat. Yak sakrivelosia, podprimstvo viskovo promyslovogo complex Radyansk Union. The union is majestic, the fact that they did not have a penny in them. Well, before the speech, it was the economic collapse of our land that made Yak Bula the flagship of the Viskovo industrial complex. Of the Radyansk Union. That's why there is a Bogato engineering, Bogato science technical engineering, Bogato, I would say, qualification. Kavonik Rabitnikiv here Bula nabilsha kilkist, podprimstiv Viskovo promyslovogo complex Radyanskogo union, I by saying. Zozorogenic shilno. Well, and to whom did everything go wrong again? For this reason, the entire economic history of Ukraine was completed. Ukraine was transformed from a military-industrial complex power into an agrarian power. And show wona takoyu Bula. Until the 91st Roku ni, not Bula. See Bula power of the Viskovo Promyslovy complex. See perfectly all pamutate. One day the march of the whole ward. Chu novini about personnel hunger that low wages at the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs help. See Bilsh Svidchenia Baratbi Fs Protipoliti Chi Zagalny lax regime. See Svidchenia Zagalny slacken the regime if you do not waste pennies on the unprivileged Siloviki. That's interesting. The vertical of Lodi is motivated by the monopoly of the federal service without the protection of the Russian Federation. You are absolutely right to write. I to that Chekisti budget not otrimuvati salary I inchi reach pershimi. And firm say the ministry. Internal help. Vono moj pershim vidchuti ekonomikni zbitki. In addition, do not forget, because in Russia it is absolutely legal, I would say, on the ground. You can get involved, because people like to practice at the Ministry of Internal Inquiries, not on the ground, it's no secret. In the apartment stink mayet otrimuvati salary. And you, that protsuya on earth, politsiiski, stink may feed z people. Show stink I robliad. Traffic cops. I pamutayu, kolis bachiv the result of a closed opatuvanya, if the traffic police have zepituvali and skilki. Stink wanted to take away a few pennies in order not to get a brother swag. Well, I'm not going to tell you about this figure. Vona is beautiful. I don't know, I'm a power, 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 I'm a power. So what? Well, say from yourself, What low wages do you have from the State Inspectorate of the Russian Federation? To tudi-eyed on salary. See yak we have yakos there mitnya. Yak spividnosia dvi novini about the folding economic camp of Russia that rescheduled plan to attack Europe from 2030. 2020 something, for a penny a ball, I think, because I'm still the enemy, because Russia may really be able to attack Europe. See those majestically parabilshenya. I'm absolutely waiting for the minister to defend himself with Boris Pistotis. I'm going to. 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 Ayla C does not mean that it is not possible to boot the elements of a hybrid Vini. In order to launch a drone into Europe, to put a punch on it, not to waste a lot of pennies, everything is still cheap. I didn't bother any people over 30, but there was a lot of stink going on there. Axis Takaj Moj Beauty Vina. We are here, 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 we are here to help Ukraine. And NATO will not be nobles. We are here, 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 we are here. We are here, 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 we are here. We are here, 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 we are here. We are here, 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 we are here. There will be a new stage of the whole history. Firm pro show Varto Damati. If I talk about the situation with you, I will tell you the latest development of the situation in the confl. C does not eat pennies. Ales novu still, I show. What kind of Russia can reach, Akrim yak eskalatsi. Paroverki, Niskilki Zahid ready to fight with her. Yaksho vpaid Madura regime, yak si vplin on Russia. Nyak. And yak vplinuv on Russia seriozno. Kaz Masada, Yakivpov. We have overcome the real geopolitical possibilities of Russia. At once I Putinim having said, Parabilshut. That's right, Rossi Buli Bazi in Siri, Elaskazadi, Show Wona Bula, such a great geopolitical prince. I would not have been able to bring myself to a close meeting, because the whole geopolitical flow, according to the essence, was based on that, because I could have bombed the world with a quarter of an alep. Ela Vona, na vidminu vid Turekini, is not small Vlasnia paramilitarne Prichaliv. In Syria. Well, the Assad regime is small, so factually, it has to be popular with authority. The Irantsiv Buli have their own hangers-on there, the Turekini have their own, the Spoluchenik have their own staff. Ayakvi Bachite, Chi Vsi Sili Dosi Pradovzuyut. Fight with yourself. Me Bachino at a time in Aleppo Bo, vocalist tax novu other. And Rosia played for the Rakunuk Jorstokist. Well, in general, Venezuela Russi Nichogo this no Chauvin could seriozno of Rutiti. Yadini show Svicheno, on the Russian situation, you can just say so, the frost of energetic possibilities in the ends. Yak, according to the essence, Nibilshi with reserves of naphtha land such as Nasti. I will appear in the ring. Venezuelskoy nafthi. Ales novu still, see all poki, show duj velik patanya. Chidisno the Maduro regime has fallen, Trump can be harnessed to such a life, and a dreary vinu vanweli. In what way has Putin harnessed himself to Ukraine? Mager beauty, mager. Show at a time for the situation with Venezuelskoyu nafta, skilki bud potribno. In order for Vona to really enter the Svidovi rink, we absolutely predict here from experts. One say, show bud dostatno kilko missive, inchi say, show dostatno bud kilko rakiv, I show Trump is unlikely to beat the sea stream. Well, to be sure, there's a masa pitin, on the yaki, in mina nime vidpovidi. Ale obviously, some shomis nahaditsia in situak, pav asano s tim, yek. Buddha Razvivatsa in Podalkoma economic situation in Russia. The hour of practice is not on Russia. For me, there is one commentator in the Telegram channel, Ale I'm not on us. We've cry poribni vudyatsi. Well, znovu still, zmini vudyats. Not to lie down in the fact that the Ukrainian president knows there is a need for such sliv. There are many positive paradigms for zmini vladi in Ukraine in the Oceanij prospects are mute, which would not be talking about Vibori. To the same, a skilki nime prospects zakinchenia voni di, I zabezpechenia bezpeku voice, Vibori real to spend nemozivo. That's the Vibori itself does not lead up to the Viznanya of their legitim, I say, you are a Russian Federation. So if I don't have a plan in my mind, I'm going to try to be a Russian-Ukrainian Vinoj. Well, before the speech, I'm going to tell you, one at a time, I'm in our eyes, if you like it, I'd. Zesidania for the sake of the Prisvyachin Vanweli. I see taka chudova istoria is konfrontatsiu Ms. Spoluchanimi states I Roziu, yak rozagruyatsya on the key radio without a care. The representative of the staff received at the Mike Voles, is talking about those who received the staff. Will be able to get sanctions in the maximum possible way, so that they can provide Maduro with resources, Yaki Vin Vikaristev, for the financial support of the drug cartel. I sanctionovani naftovi tankeri I osnovnim ekonomiknim. The corridor for Maduro is that of an illegitimate regime. For my everything. Nibenzu Pidkreslu, si shtukna zavisa anti-drug struggle, Yako prihovu met vieskik spoluchenik staffiv. To fix a vice on an independent power, whose politics are not befitting Washington. Roziani rishush sujuyut zapoplenia nafthavit tankers, factually blockade Vanweli, show a clear act of aggression. Washington, to say Nebenzi, it's important to have the independence of Tilki. In that case, as the power adapts its policy to the USA, Mi Skoda is about those who are new to the administration of the USA. Yakubula is very pragmatic in her way to the worst crisis situations, she wants to be preemptive in her way. I'm actively criticizing Vona herself, if you're talking about Vodenya. Before the speech the way I'm actively criticizing myself, the whole Russian way to Ukraine. It's just an illustration about those who are new to the Russian-American Eskalatsi Navkalo Madura regime. Vin te literally in our eyes Rozgortetsia. See, I think, will remain such a theme of our new year with you Rozmovi. Skiro Udiakuyu, show Buli in Soma Ifiri. I ask you to write to the central channel, so that you will be able to come to the next million. Put it like that, put it. Share your Vrzenyami, Komantari, Karites Instrumentami Pitrimki Sogo channel, I Obovyakovo dopomagate Zbrojnym forces of Ukraine. Yaki in the offensive rock conful. To be afraid, because the phase is so great that you can get lost, barefoot maybut na muzelishidi. Golovny guarantors, Ukrainsky suverenit. May the world help you, friends. And why Shastit? Right now, the Holy One.